Yeah, this build is probably going to get nerfed soon. What's up guys, it's Rest, and in today's video I wanted to go over a build for Mara that is going to let you one-shot bosses without even ever shooting a weapon. This is evolved all around your shield, grenade, and your melee abilities, and it is going to let you just tear through Mayhem 10 like it's nothing. Their interactions between this gear is absolutely insane, and the stuff you can pull off with it is pure destruction. This is essentially a Nova style build, so we're going to be doing a lot of AoE damage in a close area on top of a little melee build, so you have two different ways of doing your damage. But if that interests you, my builds are located in my Discord, link to the Discord being in the description. If you download the build, enjoy the video, find it helpful in any way, remember to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It's not needed, but it really helps me out and I truly appreciate it. But with all that being said, let's get right into this actually OP build. Alright, so as you can see, we have our very attractive Amara here, totally not disgusting at all. But this is going to play with the theme of the build because it is absolute destruction. So starting off, before I get into all the gear, as you see, it's not that much gear as it is, but the main focus around this entire build is the shield right here, and that is the Stinger shield. So if you don't know what this does, basically while full, your melee damage is increased by 50%, which is pretty nice for Amara. Then returns 7,041 damage of melee while shielded. This is really good because if you see on the stat card, it says melee Nova, so the Nova that this is doing is actually scaled to your melee damage, and obviously with your shield being maxed, you get 50% damage. Now to make this really good is because the note we have on Axial Start, any effects that trigger on Axial Break or Fill. So this works with any character, but specifically on Amara, you want to be using Phase Grass because it has the lowest cooldown, so you can constantly keep proccing this anoint over and over again. And this anoint does an insane amount of damage. Like, I mean, it reaches millions and millions of damage. It's actually kind of crazy. Now, as you see, this one is radiation. The melee Nova is tied to whatever your elemental resistance is. So I have a radiation one and an incendiary and corrosive one that I'm including with this build. You can get the other elements, but honestly, these do well enough that you don't really need the other ones. But if you want to try to farm for those, you can. Radiation is really good against shields. Incendiary is obviously good against flesh, and corrosive is good against armor targets. So that is the shield. Just as a recap real quick, essentially this is going to let your axe skill become an insane Nova that just does an absurd amount of damage, and you can one-shot pretty much every mob in the game and one-shot some bosses in the game. And the other gear to make this Nova even stronger, we're going to be using something like the Lenoge right here with the gain 300% increased weapon damage when enemies above 90% health. Plus the Lenoge also gives you 120% more melee damage if you get the right parts. This is really good because obviously more melee damage is buffing the melee Nova since it is a melee Nova. Plus this anoint actually buffs melee damage as well. So now not only are you getting the damage just from these two, you're also going to be getting 300% more damage because of this anoint, which is making the Nova do an even insane amount more damage, which is absolutely crazy. At all times, you usually just want to be holding the nose in your hand. You could even melee with it. You're never going to shoot it. You don't have to shoot it at all. Just focus on getting your cooldowns back for your Nova and just absolutely killing everything with that. Now, as you see, we also have a face puncher right here with the same anoint as the Lenoge. The face puncher is really good. I know I said you don't ever have to shoot with this build, and you don't if you don't have to, but having the face puncher is going to be really nice to help out targets that fly in the air, kind of like Wotan's second half. You can easily take out that with the face puncher, or even on targets like Grave War where he's kind of far away, the face puncher is going to let your melee damage actually reach the target and you can actually destroy them. Now, if that's going to take too much away from the theme of this build, I understand. Just you don't have to use the face puncher, but it is nice to have for those long range engagements. Now getting into the grenade, which is another vital part of this build. It is the fish slap grenade, and as you see, this is still a level 57 non-Mayhem 10 grenade, and it literally puts out double digits and like millions of damage. It's actually crazy. I've seen this hit for like 12 million, sometimes 10 million. Like, it's absolutely insane. But if you don't know what the fish slap does, basically this grenade just scales to your melee damage, and obviously since you're having an insane amount of melee damage, now not only is your Nova doing a lot of damage, your grenade is also doing a lot of damage. But this grenade alone is going to let you just destroy any single target you want to. It's even good at bossing. Like, you can literally just throw this on bosses constantly and they're going to die. It's actually funny to just kill a boss with a fish slap grenade. And once again, if this grenade was level 60 Mayhem 10, I could only imagine the amount of damage you could do with it. But unfortunately, you cannot get that grenade because this was in the cartel event, and as we know, the cartel event is now gone and you cannot get updated gear from it. But As you see, I did get one without access, so regenerate 1 grenade. This is going to pair really well with this build. I cannot stress this enough. Since you're only using your access skill for damage for the most part, and sometimes using your melee and when you're proccing Groundbreaker, this is going to straight up let you always have grenades. You can literally just spam the grenades like Moe's if you want to, because every single time you use your access skill, you get a grenade back. And even in dire situations, if you're not against fake grasping, you can also fake grasp the ground to get a grenade back. But if you don't want to do that, I understand. But I'm just letting you know it does work. But you shouldn't even have to do it just with the amount of access skills you're going to have killing targets. You're always going to have infinite grenades doing insane amount of damage. Now, to make the ad clear from this build even better than it already is, obviously the Nova is insane for ad clear. We're going to be running a radiation stone static charge. This is going to give you bonus 80% radiation damage, and the reason I'm choosing radiation, it's neutral between shields and health. It doesn't give any negatives towards that, but it does give a little negative corrosive. As you see, we have some relics over here that I'll get into in a second. But this also is going to let your slot build up a static charge, and your next melee attacks are going to do 50% bonus damage to shock and chain to nearby enemies. So this is essentially making the face puncher a brainstormer, which is really cool. Plus it says melee damage, and obviously if you remember, our stinger and our grenade, both of these scale to your melee damage. They are melee. That perk actually procs with this shield and grenade right here. It's actually kind of crazy. Before I get into those interactions, I have 27% more actual corner rate, 43% area effect damage, and 34% more melee damage. Obviously all those are insanely good. Your actual corner rate is going to get your axe still back to proc your damage and grenades. 43% area effect damage, more damage, 34% more melee damage. Obviously all those are really good, but with the static charge perk, this, like I said, is actually going to work with the fish slap grenade. So now not only is your fish slap grenade doing just an insane amount of single target damage, when it hits an enemy, it's also going to chain lightning, doing millions of damage, which also one-shots people. So literally you can just throw your grenade, it's going to destroy that one enemy, chain lightning everywhere, either one-shot them or get them insanely weak. Now for the shield, this is a melee Nova shield. This is melee damage. This is also going to add to the ad clear if you need it. Obviously with the Nova, it's pretty much going to one-shot everything around you, but sometimes the Nova can hit a target at a longer distance, and then that is also going to proc your static charge, which is going to chain to another enemy, and you can kill even more enemies with that. So this artifact is all around just increasing your melee damage to the same amount, plus adding even more of an AoE aspect to it. So ad clear is absolutely insane with this build. Then getting into our class mod, we're going to be running the Breaker class mod. So if you don't know what this does, Amargi's damage reduction. The bonus is based on the distance to the enemy, and the closer you are, you can get up to 29% damage reduction. Really good perk for a mob. This is going to help out a lot with the survivability of this build. The survivability of this build is already insane, but this is going to help out even more. But as you see, we get 33% splash damage, 36% actual corner rate, and 59% melee damage. Again, all those are obviously really good. It's going to let you just get your cooldown back and do an insane amount of damage. But now get into these artifacts real quick. As you see, we have a corrosive stone white elephant, where our melee is imbued with corrosive, 80% more corrosive damage, plus I have 30% chance to apply sticky bomb to a target. This is giving you more melee damage, corrosive damage, and area of effect damage. This is really good for bossing, specifically on things like Wotan. When you get him down to the last phase, you can easily take out the better half, plus hitting the crits is going to let you just destroy Wotan. On top of that, I have a Firestone White Elephant, where we get more instant damage, melee damage, and area of effect damage. This is the same thing as the corrosive one, but it's fire. This is going to be really good for your flesh bosses like Grave Ward, any other boss that has flesh. These are essentially just for bossing on bigger targets and at longer ranges. The Radiation Stone charge lets you one-shot bosses as it is, but if you ever need to swap the element out, if you're going against like an armor target, you definitely use this as your thing to swap. And as you see, the White Elephant is your melee attack, so the shield can actually proc White Elephant too, and when that procs, the damage you get is absolutely insane. You don't have to worry about ever having to shoot a boss again. Like, I mean, you literally are just going to destroy everything. But now getting into the skills, I'm gonna be starting in Brawl. Since we're using our action skill a lot, we're going to be running things like Clarity. We're putting 5 points in, so we get 5% of our missing health regenerated. Plus, when we use our action skill, it's getting double. This is pretty much always going to be proc, because we're always going to be getting our cooldown back. 5 points in Help Enhance. So every time we use our action skill, we're getting 40% damage reduction. This is going to help out with our Brawler. This is literally going to let you have the same amount of damage reduction, plus all your health is going to be getting regenerated. Now I have 5 points of arms deals, so we get more splash damage and splash damage reduction. Again, splash damage increases more damage, plus the splash damage reduction is going to help you not kill yourself a lot with all the explosions going off. 3 points of root to rust, let's have to get down to the bottom, but this is increasing your max health by 24%. Really good. 1 point you find your center, which is getting buffed to 2 with our class mod, so you get 200% more melee damage and 75% more melee range after we use our action skill. This is going to be insanely good. This is obviously buffing your damage with this build, because I've said every piece of gear you're using is based around melee, so this is obviously giving you just 200% more melee damage to all of that. Then I have 5 points on one with nature, so we get 25% more max health and 40% elemental damage reduction. You can run whatever element you're getting yourself into, so if you're playing the takedown, you want to run corrosive, so you have 40% damage reduction from corrosive. The main thing I like to run most of the time is incendiary, because with your shield coming off and having that same amount of damage reduction, having incendiary does not destroy your health bar is actually going to be insane too. So it's just whatever you want to run. I would say neutrally I would always run incendiary, but if you want to run something else for like a boss or just any form of encounter, you can definitely swap it out. But then I have 1 point guardian angel, so when we die I can resurrect myself. This is really good. This is on a 120-second cooldown, but if you just play around this, you're always gonna have this up. And between all the guardian ranks and fight for life now and this, you pretty much can never die with this build, which is always something fun to do. Then I have 1 point blitz. We're not really taking advantage of what the skill actually does, but we get 100% more melee damage, which is obviously really good for this build, even more damage. But now I get into mystical assault. I have 3 points of fast hands, so we get more weapon swap speed and reload speed. These are alright, but I gotta get down to the bottom. I have 1 point do harm, 1 point violent tapestry. Again, gotta get down to the bottom. But 5 points of restless, so we get 25% more cooldown rate. This is adding even more cooldown rate to what our class mod and artifact is already doing. 3 points of transcend, so we get more accuracy and critical hit damage every time you use active skill. This is really good for the white elephants, like specifically on things like Grave Ward. Having that increased crit damage is really nice, and actually is going to tighten all those pellets up so we can easily hit the crits. 1 point alacrity, because I gotta get down to the bottom. And I know I'm saying that a lot, but the skill at the very bottom is honestly needed for this build, because it's going to let your damage just increase to an insane amount. But 1 point ascendant, and we're going to be running soul sap, because even when you kill an enemy with the nova, this actually does proc soul sap, which is going to add more to your survivability, because even more health generation is nice. 3 points in lay bare. This is going to be for bossing. For bossing, I like to swap to phase cast, and then you can shoot a phase cast at an enemy. Gonna proc your transcend, and it's gonna proc lay bare, so you can destroy the boss with whatever weapons you're using. 3 points of arrest, so we get 12% more fire rate and 44% more charge speed. This is another skill where I just have to get down to the bottom. The fire rate can be good on something like the face puncher when you're trying to boss. Obviously more fire rate is going to increase your DPS. 3 points of arrest, 20% more damage, 20% more every pop axe skill. This is a pretty good skill to have for more. Again, this is going to help out with your face puncher. 1 point in remnant, so whenever we get a kill, this is going to create a orb, and it stacks your overkill damage, and it's going to let this orb just do an insane amount of damage. This is really good, because that not only now is your nova going to just do an absurd amount of damage, you're also going to have this orb that comes out after it to do an insane amount of damage. I've seen this orb reach damage cap, and if you don't know what that means, essentially when you do too much damage, the game basically cannot like record it anymore, I guess, and you just don't even get a damage number, but obviously the target still dies. This has happened a couple times, and that should just go to show how much damage you can actually do with this build. But then 1 point avatar, this is the skill I was talking about. If you don't know what avatar does, this is going to let you pop your axe twice for cooldown. The bonus rush stacks is literally worthless, but this is going to let you have 2 phase grass on 1 cooldown, so you can go into one room, kill everything, go into the next room, kill everything, and then by that time you're gonna have your cooldown back, so you can just keep repeating it over and over again. In the Fountain Fist of Elements, I have 5 points in infusion to convert 40% of our damage to whatever actual element we're using. This is going to be really good for the face puncher, again for bossing, because whatever element you're equipping, you're now not only getting your gun to do that elemental damage, and it actually does work with the face puncher, it also is going to let you get damage reduction to whatever the element is, which is very nice. But then finally, 1 point illuminated fist to get 75% more melee damage, and our melee damage is now based on whatever our active skill element is. So there you have it. That is the new build for Maw. Again, I 100% think this build probably is going to get nerfed. The shield interaction, not only for Amara, but on other characters, especially on somebody like Flak, is honestly a little ridiculous. It lets you one-shot bosses on Mayhem 10, lets you clear every room without ever shooting a bullet, and as insanely fun as it is, I am going to recognize that it is a little broken. But now, if you're into broken things and just want to tear through the game, like I said, my builds are located in my Discord channel if you would like to download them. The link for the Discord is in the description. If you're down with the build, enjoy the video, find it helpful in any way, remember to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It's not needed, but it really helps me out, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.